It's the morning star drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the morning star drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Tuesday, August 17th. And this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what is going on today on this awesome Tuesday? We got coronavirus updates, current news from around the world, and looking into the history of the Bible. And of course, we'll have thoughts of the week. So how are you guys doing today? It is Tuesday. Monday is in the books now, and hope you guys are enjoying your week thus far. Really thankful you guys are here joining us here on the Morning Star Drive. Keep liking, commenting, want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. What is happening tonight? Well, Espresso with Sky channel, remember everything is moved to Thursday. We just had our first successful launch of the new content, spiritual thing. Like, it's all spiritual content. We talked about the length of prayer. I hope you guys will really enjoy it. We got another video coming out on Thursday, so I hope you guys will be able to not only just, take a listen to it, benefit from it, but also you guys can definitely leave a comment, and that would help out the channel more than anything else, all right? Also, last night we had the Monday Zoom Bible study. It's the last two I'm doing here in Malaysia. I'm probably restarted over there in America on that side also. That is posted on Patreon today around 11 a.m. So, let's get this show started on the road. Today's featured artist on this awesome Tuesday. Who is the featured artist of the day? It's going to be Star Aiden Verity from New Zealand, and this song is her latest single, Hot Guy in the Corner. And then the second song is Man and Groom from PMA in Korea. And this is one of my favorite songs right now. It's one of his newest releases. It's called Cold Summer. I really, really like this song. It's got a good groove to it. And last but not least, we'll break things down with the Sky from Japan with the song Home. All right, so as we continue to pray more and more, and as we are reaching that point where all the big things have been done and we just got to fix our character, it's kind of that same message we got during the time of the rapture. The big thing is done. The purpose of creation and the rapture is done. Now fix ourselves. And that's the thing that I think more than anything else we have to really work on more than anything else. All right. So let's spend some time and make sure that whenever you pray, leave a prayer for all these member artists from around the world.
A little bit hard to see. I'm starting to believe you might be what I need. Even in shadow you look so nice. Can't wait to see you step into the bright lights. You're kinda shy and so am I to do something. If I shake myself up, then I gotta say one thing. One thing to you, hot guy in the corner. I don't know your name. Gonna get to know ya. Hot guy in the corner. Isn't it such a shame? I've been waiting for ya. When you always say, I'll be your turn, you'll pay and say, hey. Yeah, I'm coming for ya. Hot guy in the corner, see my face in your face. And I can't wait any longer. I could trip in these heels, eyes are spinning wheels. How can I keep my chill when you give me all the feels? Is that a halo? Is that a crown? Look at you, look at me, look you up and down. Take me out, I didn't wear all this for nothing. Hold my hand up, I got a chance to do something. Do something with you. Hot guy in the corner. I don't know your name. Gotta get to know ya. Hot guy in the corner. Is it eyes, all eyes on the hot guy in the corner. Then my eyes on the hot guy in the corner. All eyes on the hot guy in the corner. Then my eyes, my eyes. You always there, hoping to turn away and say, hey, I'm on fire. I see my face in your face. Can't wait. I see my face in your face. Can't wait.
여름철만 다가오면 기대되는 휴가 여름철만 다가오면 짜증나는 더위 끈적끈적한 여름엔 필요해 차가운 아이스크림 같은 한 여름밤의 꿈 빨리 안 먹으면 녹아서 끈적끈적해져 like hot summer with mosquito 뜨거운 여름만 다가오면 싫지만 괜스레 두근대는 이 기분은 뭘까 요즘 비가 오면 듣는 빗소리가 좋아 요즘 짝을 찾는 매미 소리도 좋아 시끄러운 매미 소리 밑에 가려진 매미들의 숨가쁜 사랑 노래 괜스레 얼굴이 빨개져 뜨거운 태양처럼 이젠 기대돼 다가올 여름이
여름밤은 너무 더워 우릴 살려줘 열대야가 우릴 삼켜서 we will go 집에서 에어컨은 냉방병 걸려 갈 사람 저요 갈 사람 너요 여름밤은 너무 더워 우릴 살려줘 열대야가 우릴 삼켜서 we will go 집에서 에어컨은 냉방병 걸려 갈 사람 저요 갈 사람 너요
연장막 끝에 조금 처해지는 핫서머데이 떠나볼까 젊은 날에 좋은 자리 있으면 좀 잡아도 꽉 막힌 도로여도 오늘은 기분이 설레네 계획은 딱히 없고 몇 시간 달린 후에 바닷가에 시원하게 발부터 담가 붙잡고 파도를 삼켜 또 모래성을 쌓아 석양 아래 바다 와 모래알이 너무 예쁜걸 느새 더윈 잊었고 굳이 여자 없이 우리끼리도 즐겁네 그래도 저기 걸어오는 너희는 너무나 예쁜 거 아쉬움 뒤로 한 채 우리 내년에 기약하자고
여름밤은 너무 더워 우릴 살려줘 열대야가 우릴 삼켜서 we will go 집에서 에어컨은 냉방병 걸려 갈 사람 저요 갈 사람 너요 여름밤은 너무 더워 우릴 살려줘 열대야가 우릴 삼켜서 we will go 집에서 에어컨은 냉방병 걸려 갈 사람 저요 갈 사람 너요
思い悩むことはない特に変わりはしないからいつもの笑顔のまま明るくやり過ごそう眉間にシワを寄せたあなたも可愛いけどその顔で長くいるのはと も疲れるでしょう。さあ手を取って歩き出そう。僕らの家へ帰ろう。二人なら乗り越えられるから僕らの家へ帰ろう。もうその涙拭って鼻水も噛んじゃいな。つないだ手固く握って離したりはしないから。僕らの温かな方、Home 帰ったらいつもの Home、さあ手を取って歩き出僕らの家へ帰ろう。二人なら乗り越えられるから僕らの家へ帰ろう。
And there it is. That is The Sky from Japan with that great song, Home. It makes me think about, home. I'll be going home next week, so I'm super happy about this too. Really excited. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to keep the podcast going, releasing it at the same time. It'll be probably like 5:30, 6:30 a.m. Korea time, which in Malaysia is like 4:30, 5:30. So it'll always be released at the exact same time, so everyone in the world will be able to get it during their morning time. All right. So let's get into news going on around the world. Let's start off with the coronavirus updates. At the moment, there's 208 million cases with 4.37 million deaths at a 2.10% mortality rate. Top 5 countries. It's kind of weird. Always on Tuesdays. I'm not sure what it is, but always on Tuesday, the numbers are down for some reason. And it's just really weird. All the numbers jumble for the top 5 when it comes to daily infection rates and daily death rates. Number 1 is Iran and only 36,000. Remember, US is always at 100,000, 70 to 100,000 right now. But the US is third. It's like Iran's 36,000 with 620 deaths in a day. Then India, 33,000 cases with 421 deaths. The US, 30,000 cases, 122 deaths. The UK, 26,000 cases, 61 deaths. And then Mexico comes in, a new country in the top 5 with 23,000 cases and 753 deaths. But from looking at the trend of every week, by tomorrow, everything's back to normal. Like US is gonna be close to 100,000 again. I'm not sure what the reasoning is why every Tuesday it's like this. Maybe it's their break day. I'm not sure what it is. Why the numbers are always down. Like even if I look at over here in Southeast Asia, Thailand becomes number 1 with 21,000 cases in a day with 209 deaths. And then Indonesia with 20,000 cases with 1,222 deaths. And then Malaysia is tied with Indonesia at 20,000 cases, 282 deaths. So the top 3 countries in Southeast Asia, they're all at 20,000 cases. And it seems like Indonesia is the one that's taking the worst part of it right now. But of course, we need to understand Indonesia is the 4th largest country in the world by population. So we do expect the death rate to be high, but not quite this high. So let's go into the current news around the world. And this is where it gets interesting because the biggest news everywhere is about Afghanistan. Afghanistan is the big trending news, but we're going to get into that second. We're going to start off with just an update on the earthquake yesterday in Haiti. Now yesterday the death toll was at 300. Now it's up to 1,300, right? So, the numbers are going to keep going up. 1,300 people have died. And I believe at the moment, almost 6,000 people have been injured. And rescuers are picking through rubble in a desperate search for any survivors. So homes, churches, and schools were among buildings flattened in the quake, and some hospitals were left overwhelmed and in need of supplies. The disaster compounds problems facing the impoverished nation, which is already reeling from a political crisis following the assassination of its president last month. And the southwest of Haiti appears to have suffered the worst of the damage, especially around the city of Les Cayes. So that is what's going on. That's just an update on the Haiti earthquake. But this is the big news around the world: is the Kabul, the capital, falls to the Taliban as the president flees the country. Right. So this is quite. This is it. Afghanistan. The Taliban has taken over pretty much. They have taken over the country. So the thing I wanted to go over is a little bit of the history of why this is going on. So why is there a war in Afghanistan right now at the moment? And it's been a 20 years war. It's been 20 years they've been going to war. So after 20 years of war, we know that this year the foreign forces are pulling out of Afghanistan following a deal between the U.S. and the Taliban militants. They were removed from power back in 2001. And the conflict has killed tens of thousands of people and displaced millions. The Taliban have pledged not to allow Afghanistan to become a base for terrorists who could threaten the West. But the country's hardline former rulers have quickly gained territory in recent weeks from Afghan army soldiers who are now being left to protect a fragile government. Now, the Taliban also made a pledge for national peace talks, but many fear a worsening civil war remains a far more likely outcome. And nevertheless, Joe Biden, the fourth U.S. president to oversee what has become America's longest ever war, one costing hundreds of billions of dollars, has set a symbolic date of September 11, 2021 for full withdrawal. Now, why did the U.S. fight a war in Afghanistan in the first place, right? And why did it last so long? So in 2001, the U.S. was responding to 9/11, attacks on New York and Washington, in which nearly 3,000 people were killed. So officials identified Islamist militant group Al-Qaeda and its leader Osama bin Laden as responsible. Now, bin Laden was in Afghanistan under the protection of the Taliban and the Islamists who had been in power since 1996. Now, when they refused to hand him over, the U.S. intervened militarily, quickly removing the Taliban and vowing to support democracy and eliminate the terrorist threat. Now, the militants slipped away and later regrouped. NATO allies joined the U.S. and a new Afghan government took over in 2004, but deadly Taliban attacks continue. So Barack Obama, he had a troop surge in 2009, helped push back the Taliban, but it was not long term. So in 2014, at the end of what was the bloodiest year since 2001, NATO's international forces ended their combat mission, leaving responsibility for security to the Afghan army. Now, that gave the Taliban momentum and they seized more territory. And then peace talks between the U.S. and the Taliban started tentatively, with the Afghan government pretty much uninvolved. And the agreement on a withdrawal came in February 2020 in Qatar. Now, the U.S. Taliban deal did not stop the Taliban attacks. They switched their focus instead to Afghan security forces and civilians and targeted assassinations, and their areas of control grew. So those of you guys don't know, who are the Taliban then? So they emerged in the civil war that followed the withdrawal of Soviet troops in 1989, predominantly in the southwest and the Pakistan border areas, and they vowed to fight corruption and improve security, but also followed an austere form of Islam. So by 1998, they had taken control of almost all of the country. So they enforced their own hardline version of Sharia or Islamic law and introduced brutal punishments. Like men were made to grow beards, women had to wear the all-covering burqas, TV, music, and cinema were all banned. And after their overthrow, they regrouped in Pakistani border areas. So with up to 85,000 full-time fighters, they are thought to be stronger now than at any point since 2001. So that's kind of like a brief synopsis of what's going on in Afghanistan right now and who the Taliban are. All right, so last but not least, we'll take a look at Australia. New South Wales is in their worst ever COVID situation, which is kind of, well, it's not really what it is. Like, it's for them it is, but it's not really that bad. The leader of New South Wales has warned this is the worst situation Australia's been in since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. And the state premier Gladys Berejiklian said rules would be tightened in Sydney and the state capital, which is in in lockdown. COVID fines will also go up to 5,000 Australian dollars, which is roughly about, in the US, it's about $3,500, $3,600, $700 around there. So basically they say, she said, this is literally a war, and we've known we've been in a war for some time, but never to this extent. And case numbers and deaths in the Australian state remain relatively low compared to some of the world's worst outbreaks, including the US and UK. However, locally transmitted infections hit 466 on Saturday, which is a significant increase from the previous daily high of 390. 4 deaths were reported on Saturday, bringing the state's total number of deaths in this outbreak to 42, which is relatively low, right? So Sydney has been in lockdown for 9 weeks, and officials had hope to lift the city's restrictions on August 28th, but that is now looking increasingly unlikely. So from Monday, people will be restricted to staying from they have to stay within 5 kilometers of their homes for shopping, exercise, or outdoor recreation, with exemptions in place for social bubbles. And so that's the top 3 news for today. Of course, the biggest one being Afghanistan, and Kabul, the capital, has been taken over by the Taliban. Let's go into sporting news. We'll start off with the NBA. Sources say, and this is probably confirmed, LA Clippers acquired Eric Bledsoe from the Memphis Grizzlies for Patrick Beverley, Rajon Rondo, and Daniel Oturu. And the reason they're doing it, the deal saves the Clippers $30 million in luxury tax and creates an $8.3 million player exemption they will have a year to use. In Major League Baseball action, San Diego Padres, Fernando Tatis Jr., he is basically the front runner for the MVP, and he plays outfield in return from his injured list, and he hits 2 home runs. So Fernando Tatis Jr. wasted no time making an impact for the San Diego Padres in his return from the injured list Sunday, slugging his 32nd and 33rd home runs in an 8-2 victory over the Arizona Diamondbacks while playing right field for the first time as a professional. He had 4 hits that day. He is definitely going to run away with, if he keeps it up like this, he's going to run away with the MVP for sure. In EPL action, English Premier League, Tottenham did not need Harry Kane to beat Manchester City, but Man City clearly needed Kane. Man City might need to revise their valuation of Harry Kane after all. At first glance, that may appear a knee-jerk reaction to Sunday's 1-0 defeat at Tottenham Hotspur, giving Pep Guardiola's side strolled to the Premier League title last term despite operating without a recognized striker for much of the campaign. Yet it already looks a harder trick to pull off this time around after an early reminder of how Man City can be beaten by a contain and counter method that Spurs are making a habit of pulling off. Tottenham have now beaten Man City in their last 4 meetings at the stunning Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So that is great news. Man City is considered like the powerhouse of the EPL. But they've lost 4 times at Tottenham already. So that's quite interesting to see. But that is the sports news for today. Hope that you guys enjoyed it. So that means we're going to get into, now that the worldly news is over, we're going to get into the golden time, right? It's time of praise and worship. And we're going to start with Let's Go, The Time Has Come. And then My Beloved is Like the Sun. And then we'll end things off with Because Jehovah is My Love. So as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's spend this time giving praise, honor, and glory to the Holy Trinity.
Come on, time to go now. Heaven's time has arrived now. Heaven is waiting, and all those clouds are people too. They waited for this time. Do the right work at the right time. There is a project God has given me. At that instant, don't miss the chance. Don't let time just pass you by. I always keep this proverb within my brain. It's engraved deep down in my bones. In all I do, everywhere that I may go, I take action. With the thoughts that come at each time, faster than light, I get it done. I always gain what I should gain. He's my love, my everything. That is why he is always here with me. God leads me to the places where he will fulfill his will. So as for me, I'll always live as God's bride of love. For 1,000 years rejoicing as his true love will not change. Forever live this So as for me, I'll always live as God's bride of love. For 1,000 years rejoicing as his true love will not change. Forever live this
And there is Because Jehovah Is My Love. Before that, My Beloved Is Like the Sun, and Let's Go, The Time Has Come. So now let's get into a time of word study for today. What is going on today? Actually, this week's message, there's only the Complete Testament Bible scripture, but today we're going to go into Bible history. We're going to kind of go over a complete overview of the Bible within the next 5-6 minutes. All right. So overview. Let's take a look at the Bible itself. We're gonna look at the entire Bible and the different parts that are important. So the Bible is the holy scripture of the Christian religion and Judaism. Well, the Old Testament is, right? So it's purporting to tell the history of the earth from its earliest creation to the spread of Christianity in the 1st century AD. And both the Old Testament and the New Testament have undergone changes over the centuries, including the publication of the King James Bible in 1611 and the addition of several books that were discovered later. So let's first take a look at the Old Testament. The Old Testament is the first section of the Bible covering the creation of the earth through Noah and the flood, Moses, and more, finishing with the Jews being expelled to Babylon. Now, the Bible's Old Testament is very similar to the Hebrew Bible, which has origins in the ancient religion of Judaism. The exact beginnings of the Jewish religion are unknown, but the first known mention of Israel is an Egyptian inscription from the 13th century BC. Now, the earliest known mention of the Jewish God Yahweh is an inscription relating to the king of Moab in the 9th century BC, and it's speculated that Yahweh was possibly adapted from the mountain god YHW in ancient Seir of Edom. Now, it was during the reign of Hezekiah of Judah in the 8th century BC that historians believe what would become the Old Testament began to take form, the result of royal scribes recording royal history and heroic legends. Now, during the reign of Josiah in the 6th century BC, the books of Deuteronomy and Judges were compiled and added. The final form of the Hebrew Bible developed over the next 200 years when Judah was swallowed up by the expanding Persian Empire. Now, the Septuagint, right? We'll go into the history of the Septuagint. Now, following conquest by Alexander the Great, the Hebrew Bible was translated into Greek in the 3rd century BC. Known as a Septuagint, this Greek translation was initiated at the request of King Ptolemy of Egypt to be included in the Library of Alexandria. The Septuagint was the first version of the Bible used by early Christians in Rome. Now, the book of Daniel was written during this period and included in the Septuagint at the last moment, though the text itself claims to have been written sometime around 586 BC. Which moves us now into the New Testament. So the New Testament tells a story of the life of Jesus and the early days of Christianity, most notably Paul's efforts to spread Jesus' teachings, and it collects 27 books, all originally written in Greek. Now, the sections of the New Testament concerning Jesus are called the Gospels, and were written about 40 years after the earliest written Christian materials, the letters of Paul, known as the epistles. Now, Paul's letters were distributed by churches sometime around 50 AD, possibly just before Paul's death. Scribes copied the letters and kept them in circulation. As circulation continued, the letters were collected into books. Now, some in the church, inspired by Paul, began to write and circulate their own letters, and so historians believe that some books of the New Testament attributed to Paul were in fact written by disciples and imitators. Now, as Paul's words were circulated, an oral tradition began in churches telling stories about Jesus, including teachings and accounts of post-resurrection appearances. Sections of the New Testament attributed to Paul talk about Jesus with a first-hand feeling, but Paul never knew Jesus except in visions he had. So, and the Gospels were not yet written at the time of Paul's letters. Okay, so that brings us into the Gospels. The oral traditions within the church formed the substance of the Gospels, the earliest book of which is Mark, was written around 70 AD, which is 40 years after the death of Jesus. So it's theorized there may have been an original document of sayings by Jesus known as the Q source, which was adapted into the narratives of the Gospels, and all four Gospels were published anonymously, but historians believe that the books were given the name of Jesus' disciples to provide direct links to Jesus to lend them greater authority. Matthew and Luke were next in the chronology. Both used Mark as a reference, but Matthew is considered to have another separate source known as the M source, as it contains some different materials from Mark. Both books also stress the proof of Jesus' divinity more than Mark did. So the book of John, written around 100 AD, was the final of the four and has a reputation for hostility to Jesus' Jewish contemporaries. Now, all four books cover the life of Jesus with many similarities, but sometimes contradictions in their portrayals. Now, each is considered to have its own political and religious agenda linked to authorship. For instance, the books of Matthew and Luke present different accounts of Jesus' birth and all contradict each other about the resurrection. Now, let's go to the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation is the final book of the Bible, an example of apocalyptic literature that predicts a final celestial war through prophecy. Now, authorship is ascribed to John, the Apostle John, but little else is known about the writer. Now, according to the text, it was written around 95 AD on an island off the coast of Turkey, and some scholars believe it is less a prophecy and more a response to the Roman destruction of the Great Temple in Jerusalem. And this text is still used by evangelical Christians to interpret current events in expectation of the end times, and elements of it find frequent use in popular entertainment. Now, let's take a look at the biblical canon, how it was put together. Surviving documents from the 4th century showed that different councils within the church released lists to guide how various Christian texts should be treated. The earliest known attempt to create a canon in the same respect as the New Testament was in 2nd century Rome by Marcion, a Turkish businessman and church leader. Marcion's work focused on the Gospel of Luke and the letters of Paul, disapproving of the effort the Roman Church expelled Marcion. Now, 2nd century Syrian writer Tatian attempted to create a canon by weaving the four Gospels together as the Diatessaron. Now, the Muratorian canon, which is believed to date to 200 AD, is the earliest compilation of canonical texts resembling the New Testament. It was not until the 5th century that all the different Christian churches came to a basic agreement on biblical canon. The books that eventually were considered canon reflect the times they were embraced as much as the times of the events they portray. So during the Protestant Reformation in the 16th century, books not originally written in Hebrew but Greek, such as Judith and Maccabees, were excluded from the Old Testament. These are known These are known as the Apocrypha and are still included in the Catholic Bible. So now you have the Gnostic Gospels, and additional biblical texts have been discovered, such as the Gospel of Mary, which was part of the larger Berlin Gnostic Codex found in Egypt in 1896. And 50 further unused biblical texts were discovered in Nag Hammadi in Egypt in 1945, known as the Gnostic Gospels. Among the Gnostic Gospels were the Gospel of Thomas, which purports to be previously hidden sayings by Jesus presented in collaboration with his twin brother, and the Gospel of Philip, which implies a marriage between Jesus and Mary Magdalene. The original texts are believed to date back to around 120 AD. Now, the book of Judas was found in Egypt in the 70s, dated to around 280 AD, and it's believed by some to contain secret conversations between Jesus and his betrayer Judas. And these have never become part of the official biblical canon, but stem from the same traditions and can be read as alternative views of the same stories and lessons. Now, these texts are taken as indications of the diversity of early Christianity. The King James Bible is the last thing we'll look at. The King James Bible is possibly the most widely known edition of the Bible, though in England it is known as the Authorized Version. So it was first printed in 1611. This edition of the Bible was commissioned in 1604 by King James I after feeling political pressure from Puritans and Calvinists demanding church reform and calling for a complete restructuring of church hierarchy. In response, James called for a conference at Hampton Court Palace, during which it was suggested to him that there should be a new translation of the Bible since versions commissioned by earlier monarchs were felt to be corrupt. So King James eventually agreed and decreed the new translation should speak in contemporary language using common recognizable terms, and James's purpose was to unite the warring religious factions through a uniform holy text. Now, the version of the Bible is not altered for 250 years and is credited as one of the biggest influences on the English language alongside the works of Shakespeare. So the King James Bible introduced a multitude of words and phrases now common in the English language, including eye for eye, bottomless pit, two-edged sword, God forbid, scapegoat, and turn the world upside down, among many others. So that is kind of a basic biblical history from the Old Testament all the way to the book of Revelations, even looking at the Septuagint, the Gnostic Gospels, and also the King James Version. So I hope it's something that really kind of opens your eyes to what is going on and how the Bible came about too. All right. So that is the word study for today. I hope you guys really enjoyed the Bible history, and I hope you guys will really be able to take that and understand where the Bible comes from. All right. So that leads us into the song of choice for today on this Tuesday. And of course, we always do Korean songs on Tuesdays. And I love R&B, so I wanted to play a Korean R&B singer I really like. He comes from Brown Eyed Soul. I think it's called Brown Eyed Soul. His name is Naul, right? He's from Korea. He's a Christian, great R&B singer. This is from his, he became a soloist. And this is one of my favorite songs from him. It's called Memory of the Wind, all right? So everyone please welcome Naul from Korea with Memory of the Wind.
바람 불어와 내 맘 흔들면 지나간 세월에 두 눈을 감아본다 나를 스치는 고요한 떨림 그 작은 소리에 난 귀를 기울여 본다 내 숨쉬는 커버린 삶의 조 부딪혀진 날때 그곳을 바라보리라 우리의 믿음 우리의 사랑 그 영원한 약속들을 너 추억한다면 힘차게 걸으리라 우리의 만남 우리의 이별 그 바래진 기억에 나 사랑했다면 미소를 띠리라 내 안에 있는 모자란 삶의 기억들이 난 부딪혀진 날때 그곳을 바라보리라 우리의 믿음 우리의 사랑 그 영원한 약속들을 나 추억한다면 힘차게 걸으리라 우리의 만남 우리의 이별 그 바래진 기억에 나 사랑했다면 미소를 띠리라
And there you have it. That is Nao from Korea, and that's Memory of the Wind. Great R&B singer. I really, really like him. I can't believe how high he sings. But originally, way back in like 2002, 2003, I was listening to some of his music. It's called With Coffee. Maybe that's what started my coffee liking. Yeah, this is Nao, all right? And that was his solo. This is one of his solo albums, Memory of the Wind. All right, guys. So let's move into my thoughts of the week. And this is something that happened to me yesterday. And it's really interesting for me because I kind of get to see a development of what is happening. And the difference of the way I make choices in my life too, and what God is opening up, and God closes doors and opens doors for me constantly all the time. So what happened, for those of you who don't know, that I've been in Malaysia, Southeast Asia for the last 2 years, helping with ministry, and then all of a sudden I moved over to internet ministry and stuff like that too. And I'm really, this internet ministry has been a very, very big thing for me. And I'm super happy because I'm working with IMD and they support me, and they allow me to do internet ministry. So that's something I'm super happy about. So yesterday I had this conversation with IMD. It was very, very interesting because they were wondering if I wanted to do another mission going over to Canada to help with Vancouver and stuff like that too. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I wouldn't mind doing this. And then the stipulation is basically, if you want to go there, then you need to be there, within a month. Right. And for me in my head, I'm like, well, in my head, this conversation has been going for about a week, and it was like the final decision yesterday. And I was like, well, do I really want to go there? Is it going to make a difference if everything is online anyways? Does it matter where I am? Because I do, like, the one thing that's better about being in America is that in America, you're allowed to meet in church, and you can go out, dine in, you can meet with other people. And for myself, I have my family there, and I want to spend some time, meeting my family, because a lot of my cousins now have babies, newborns. I want to see them. And then on top of it, there's like a Providence wedding going on in America that I really want to attend to too. And I also want to, do some other things. I want to try out some new things. But I realized what happened. This is very interesting for me, because it's kind of in my head, the reason why I was holding on so much to IMD, like, oh, I should do what they want, because technically speaking, they're supporting me. Like, they're paying me, right? It's not a lot, but they're still paying me. So in my head, I'm just like, you have that nervous feeling in your head, like, I should just do what they want because they're paying me, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, don't you have that kind of, you feel that guilt, or like, oh, because they're doing this, they do have control over me in some way. And I was just like, wow, that means I should be doing, or else, then what's the point of them paying me? Because I'm on their payroll, kind of thing. And the thing that came to my mind was, during the conversation, it was like, if you can't get there in a month, then we're not going to, we maybe should just take a break and we're not going to pay you. And in my head, the first thought I had was with fear, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do if I don't have any money? Oh my gosh, what do I do? Oh, and then all of a sudden my heart moved towards, I should do it. But then I thought to myself again, I'm like, wait a second. I'm not doing this because I want to do it, which means I'm going to be unhappy. I'm really going to be unhappy about this, because it's not something I just, it's not about me not wanting to run. It's more about doing it because I have no choice. And I realized to myself I'm being held, like, my heart is being held captive by something that shouldn't be that as the number one reason, right? Because all of a sudden I'm thinking that, oh, if I run for God in this way, then, then God's not going to support me. Well, how am I going to find support? And then I thought to myself no, God has always supported me. Right? If I'm running for this history, God will support me, and I have to be the one that's smart about it, but I can't let my decisions be run by just because for money itself, you know what I mean? And I thought at that moment when they said, when IMD's like, hey, if you can't do this, we're going to find someone else to do it. You could take a break. We're not going to pay you, but you could take a break and do whatever you want. And I was like, you know what? In my head, at that moment, I was like, wow, it kind of freed my mind. Like, yeah, I'm not doing this because of money. I'm not doing this because, oh no, I'm scared that I'm not going to get paid. No, this is about, what does God want, right? What does God really, really want right now? And what is the things that I can figure out even more for my life, right? What's something that I'll be even more intrigued by? And because of that, it kind of flipped something in my head, and I was like, let's just do this. Let's really do this instead. And when I thought about this, it was like, it was kind of this freeing feeling. It really was. It was this freeing feeling. And then I said, it was so weird because you can feel it in my body, like, oh no, you're not gonna have any money. And I was like, but in my heart, it was just like, no, this is the way you'll be free, right? Free meaning not held captive by something that shouldn't be. It should be more about God's will. It should be more about what are the things that we're looking for in my life. I've already reached over 40, and I was like, I should really think about the more important things before these things. And I just said, yes, I'll take a break. And they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then it just ended there. That's where it ended. And I was like, After that, it was really interesting because my heart was super free. It was really free. Like, you know what? This is true. I can't be, I'm not going to say, might be the wrong word, but I don't want to be enslaved or controlled by something that shouldn't be, like we even talk about this in life. Don't be controlled by the money, because if you're totally not happy, isn't it better to have a little less money but be more happy? You know what I mean? And I thought to myself, yeah, I want to try something new. I want to be free for a couple months. I want to be with my family. I want to also run with the people I want to run with, and I want to do things in a way. I'm just wondering, when I'm free and not led by a decision that is not based on what God wants, or something more free, right? Or like thinking like, I want to try something new, that I can find something that it may not be lucrative, or it may not be something that might support me in the beginning, but it be something that I'll be really, really happy with. And I'll still be, I know that God will support me if it's something that's for the will. So it was something that was very, very freeing for me, that, after I leave on the 26th, I'm literally free, like literally free, going to visit my family, visit this, visit that. And I thought to myself, wow, this is something that I should really think about more and more. So I'm very super, like, I don't know, it's that relieving feeling that I have some time to try some things on my own, and I have some things I can try things and do things in a different way. So now my heart is like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I really want to do this. And it's really interesting because it was just that realization is what is controlling me or what is controlling my decision. And it's kind of interesting because I was talking about this with some people yesterday when something talked about how the youth are the ones that, have to control. And I was talking to some people like, when I was young, you're a little bit more naive, right? And because I'm a little bit more naive, you can try things out. But you're not bound by the same things as an older person. As I've grown older, I'm bound and I think more deeply, how am I going to live? Where am I going to live? What am I going to do? What if I don't have money? And those things come into my mind because I'm getting older, right? And I realized, yeah, when I've reached a certain age, I'm starting to think too much on that side. And I need to kind of release myself from this and say, hey, it's okay. Just do it, right? Do this. It's only a couple months. It's temporary, and it could lead to something that I'll do for the rest of my life. So after that, I was really excited and happy about this, and that's why these are my thoughts for today. I hope it's something that opened your eyes and your mind too of what is leading you towards what God wants you to do, or finding what God wants you to do. All right. So that is today's last segment. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. I really had fun. I am having such a fun time. I'm reaching almost 400 episodes soon. Within the next 2 months, I'll be at 400 episodes. So everyone, thank you so much for joining. Hope you guys enjoy this. Share it with your other members if you really feel it's something that's beneficial to them also. All right. So everyone, have a wonderful Tuesday. Enjoy it, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm